Doctors said the billionaire's daughter was just slow
That's not
until
my
a janitor
name.
found the truth. The first time Ava Hart forgot her own name, her father thought she was joking. She was 12. Bright brown eyes, soft curls tied with a pale ribbon, a girl who once devoured books faster than her tutors could assign them. But that morning, as she stood in the marble foyer of the Hart estate with her backpack half-zipped, something shifted. "Ava, sweetheart, you forgot your lunch again," her father called, holding out the white lunchbox with gold initials. She stared at it like it belonged to someone else. "Ava," he repeated, stepping closer. Her brows knitted. "Who's Ava?" Oliver Hart felt the world tilt under his feet. That was the beginning. Within weeks, she struggled to finish sentences. Then she stopped remembering new things. Then she couldn't follow simple instructions. Then the headaches began, sharp, sudden, blinding. Every specialist had a label: developmental delay, processing disorder, cognitive slowdown. Some children plateau socially and mentally, they said. Try speech therapy. Try cognitive exercises. Try acceptance. But nothing explained how a previously brilliant girl suddenly faded like a photograph left in the sun. Oliver spent millions. Neurologists from Zurich, top pediatricians from London, brain scans in Tokyo, private clinical evaluations in New York. All of them shrugged. Your daughter is just slow. There is no underlying condition. Be patient. Some children decline without cause. The words carved themselves into Oliver's chest like knives. He was one of the richest men in America. He could fix empires. He could fix economies. But he couldn't fix his daughter. And that reality destroyed him slowly, day after day. Before we continue, hit subscribe. This story matters more than you think. Ava Hart was born brilliant. At 10, she read novels twice her size. At 11, she played violin like a child touched by angels. And at 12, she forgot her own name. Doctors called her slow, unfocused, developmentally delayed. Her father spent millions. Every specialist shrugged. Every scan came back normal. But nothing about Ava was normal. Late at night, she would clutch her head and whisper about a buzzing no one else could hear. She would forget entire days, entire conversations, entire pieces of herself. And everyone told her father the same cruel lie. There's nothing wrong with her. But they were wrong. Because the truth, the real truth, was discovered not by a surgeon, not by a specialist, but by the quiet janitor who saw what no one else did. What she found hidden behind this little girl's ear will break your heart, enrage you, and change the way you see people forever. Stay till the end. Don't forget to subscribe. Ava used to fill the mansion with laughter. Her violin echoed through the halls. Her sketches decorated every staircase. Her questions, endless, curious, alive, once drove tutors mad. Now she barely spoke. Most days she sat by the window, legs pulled to her chest, watching sunlight dye the floor golden. She wasn't sad. She just seemed muted, like someone dimmed her world. Servants whispered that the girl had changed. Some said tragedy cursed the Harts. Others said money can't buy happiness. But none of them knew the truth. None of them watched Oliver sit outside his daughter's bedroom every night, head in his hands, begging God to give him back the child he lost while she was still alive. He was desperate, and desperation makes a man blind, to danger, to deceit, and especially to the people walking quietly in the shadows of his vast home. Her name was Marisol Reyes, 30 years old, quiet, moving through the hallways of the Hart mansion with a mop, a bucket, and more responsibility than she could bear. She wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't supposed to notice anything. She definitely wasn't supposed to get close to the billionaire's daughter. But life doesn't always follow rules. Marisol took the job for one reason. Her little brother Mateo, 16, wheelchair-bound, with medical bills that towered higher than their apartment ceiling. She cleaned to keep him alive. Every dollar mattered. So she said yes when the agency called. Yes to long hours. Yes to silence. Yes to invisibility. The housekeeper warned her. Mr. Hart values privacy. Avoid the family. No eye contact. No questions. Just work. Marisol nodded. But the first time she saw Ava, her heart pulled. The girl sat at the bottom of the staircase, picking at the stitching of her dress, whispering numbers under her breath, the wrong numbers. 1, 3, 7, 20 blue. Marisol froze. Something wasn't right. This wasn't slow. This was misfiring, like a mind trying to follow a path that no longer existed. A spark of protective instinct ignited inside her chest. But she kept her head down. She had no right to intervene. She needed this job. Her brother needed this job. So she stayed silent. For now. 2 weeks later, the mansion shook with panic. A scream, thin, sharp, and terrified, echoed through the halls. Marisol dropped her cleaning supplies and ran before she could think. She found Ava on the library floor, curled into herself, clutching the side of her head. Books lay scattered around her like fallen leaves. "Ava," Marisol whispered, kneeling slowly. The girl's body trembled. "It hurts," she gasped, voice shaking. Inside my head." Marisol looked toward the grand staircase. No servants, no father, no one in sight. She lifted Ava gently, checking for injury, but the girl shoved her hand away. "No touch," Ava muttered. Too loud. Too loud. That didn't make sense. Head pain, confusion, sensitivity to touch. Marisol had seen all this before. With Mateo. The memory stabbed her chest. His doctors had misdiagnosed him too. Years of wrong treatments. Years of "your son is just behind." But the real problem had been something no one bothered to check until too late. Her breath caught. No, she couldn't assume that. But Ava whimpered again. Marisol made a decision she wasn't supposed to make. She touched the girl's forehead lightly. Ava flinched hard, pain flashing through her eyes. This wasn't normal. This wasn't slow. This was neurological distress. Something deeper. Something overlooked. Something dangerous. "Deep breaths," Marisol whispered. "Can you hear me?" Ava blinked slowly. "Yes, but your voice is buzzing. Buzzing. Like static. Like interference." Marisol's stomach dropped. She swallowed her fear and lifted the girl carefully, carrying her to a chair. "Can you look at me?" Ava did, but her gaze drifted, like she wasn't fully inside her own mind. Marisol hesitated. She shouldn't dig further. She shouldn't even be here. But a child was hurting, and she knew what it felt like when the world ignored your pain. If you're a parent, an older sibling, or someone who has ever watched a child suffer while the world looked away, please tap that subscribe button. This story is for you. Ava leaned forward suddenly, gripping her head. "It feels full." Full. Marisol's mind raced. She remembered something Mateo once said before his diagnosis. "It feels like someone stuffed cotton inside my brain." Cotton inside my brain. Her heart dropped. This pattern, these symptoms, this decline. No, it couldn't be that. Not again. But the possibility made her pulse roar in her ears. She had to check something. Something simple. "Sweetheart," she whispered. "Can you follow my finger?" Marisol moved her finger left. Ava's eyes lagged. She moved it right. Ava's gaze jittered, then froze. Neurological tracking issue. Not slow. Not lazy. Not unmotivated. Blocked. Impaired. Interrupted. Marisol felt the realization fall over her like cold rain. This wasn't developmental. This was medical. And the doctors, all those expensive, world-renowned specialists, had missed it. Ava pressed her palms to her temples, rocking slightly. "Make it stop," she cried softly. Marisol pulled her close, whispering comfort. It was then, in that moment of instinct and heart, that she noticed something else. A tiny scar behind Ava's ear. Faint, delicate, almost invisible. A surgical scar. Recent. Her breath caught. "What happened here?" Marisol whispered. Ava didn't answer. She just winced again. Marisol's pulse raced. She recognized that scar. She'd seen it on Mateo, after a doctor performed a procedure they later discovered never should have been done. A mistreatment that made everything worse. A slow horror crept up her spine. Had someone done something to this child? Something her father didn't know about? Something doctors were profiting from? She swallowed hard. "I'm going to get help," she whispered, but Ava grabbed her wrist. "No doctors." Her voice quivered. "No more tests. They make me dizzy. They make me forget. Forget. Oh God." Marisol cupped Ava's cheeks gently. "Sweetheart, what did they make you forget?" A tear slid down the girl's face. "My birthday." A sob broke from Marisol's throat before she could stop it. This was wrong. This was so deeply, dangerously wrong. She looked toward the hall. Where was Oliver? Where were the servants? Why was this child suffering alone? Marisol steadied her voice. "Ava, did you tell your dad it hurts?" Ava nodded weakly. "He said the doctors said it's normal. That my brain is tired." Her chest tightened. "Your brain isn't tired," she whispered. Something else is happening. Something real. Ava blinked slowly. Do you believe me? Marisol felt tears burn behind her eyes. Yes, she breathed. Yes, sweetheart. I believe you. And that was the moment. The exact moment. When the destiny of a billionaire's daughter and a janitor with nothing to her name became bound together. Later that night, while cleaning the upstairs hallway, Marisol passed Ava's door and paused. A faint buzzing sound leaked through the crack. It wasn't music. It wasn't Ava talking. It wasn't humming. It was mechanical. Low. Rhythmic. Wrong. Marisol pressed her ear to the door. Ava whimpered softly. Marisol pushed inside. And there it was. Ava sat on the edge of the bed, hands gripping her skull, as the buzzing grew louder, coming from somewhere deeper than the ear. Marisol's heart nearly stopped. This wasn't imaginary. This wasn't developmental. This wasn't slow. This was interference. An obstruction. Something altering her neurological processing. Something mechanical or biological or... Her breath caught. She had to confirm it. Ava, sweetheart, can I check behind your ear? The girl nodded weakly. Marisol lifted her hair, and what she saw made her stomach drop. The scar was inflamed. Red. Swollen. Tender. Like something beneath the skin was pushing outward. A pulse. A faint vibration. No. 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 This couldn't be real. Her chest tightened as the truth clawed its way into her mind. Ava didn't need a tutor. She didn't need therapy. She didn't need acceptance. She needed someone who actually cared enough to look. Her vision blurred with fear and fury. Doctors hadn't misdiagnosed her. They had ignored her. Maybe even for profit. And if Marisol was right, Ava's life was in danger. If you've ever begged someone to believe your pain and they didn't, please subscribe. Stories like this matter because people like Ava exist. Marisol didn't sleep that night. She sat at her small desk in the staff quarters, staring at the faint writing on the notepad she kept in her apron. Scribbles from panic and fear. Inflamed scar. Buzzing sound. Tracking delay. Memory gaps. Pain behind ear. Interference? The last word was circled 5 times. She couldn't shake the feeling that something had been put inside this child, or something had been done to her. Not intentionally, she prayed. Not maliciously. But still, something wrong. Something sloppy. Something overlooked or covered up. She leaned back in her chair and rubbed her face. No answers, she whispered. Only fear. She thought of Mateo, his blank stares before their diagnosis, the way he'd slump forward when the pain became too much. Doctors wrote it off as developmental delay until someone finally looked closer. And now Ava. A soft knock sounded at the door. Marisol stiffened. It was past midnight. No one should be here. She opened the door, and her heart cracked. Ava stood there in an oversized hoodie, hugging herself. Her eyes were wet. It's buzzing again, she whispered. Oh God. Marisol quickly pulled her inside, shut the door, and guided her to sit. How long has it been buzzing? All day, Ava murmured. It won't stop. When I close my eyes, it gets louder. Marisol gently held the girl's hands. Did you tell your father? Ava shrank into herself. He said the doctors told him not to worry. They said I'm just slow. The way she said slow, like a wound, like an insult, made something deep in Marisol harden. That's not who you are, she whispered. Nothing about you is slow. Ava blinked rapidly, tears spilling over. Then why can't I think straight? Why do I forget everything? Why do I feel like someone is shaking my head from the inside? Her voice cracked. Marisol felt her own throat burn. This child wasn't broken. She was being failed. Sweetheart, Marisol said softly. Can I look behind your ear again? Ava nodded. Marisol gently tucked her hair aside. She couldn't believe her eyes. The swelling had worsened. The skin was warm, irritated. No surgery scar should look like that, not weeks later. She swallowed hard. Something was reacting. Something was changing. Who did this procedure? Marisol whispered. Do you remember? Ava shook her head. Was it a long time ago? I don't know, Ava murmured. Everything after my 10th birthday is foggy. 2 years lost in fog. No developmental delay does that. Marisol straightened slowly, breath shaking. This wasn't just missed. This was mismanaged. The next morning, Marisol made a dangerous choice. She slipped into the medical records room. She shouldn't have. She could lose everything. She could be fired, sued, worse. But she couldn't unsee Ava's pain. And she couldn't forgive herself if she did nothing. The door creaked softly as she entered the dim room, filled with neat stacks of binders. The Hart family kept every medical record on site, scanned and printed. Ava's file was labeled in crisp black ink. Thick, overstuffed, an entire childhood inside one binder. Marisol took a breath and opened it. The first pages were normal, routine checkups, growth charts, pediatric notes. Then, halfway through, the entries changed. Sparse details, vague descriptions, statements from specialists who charged more per hour than Marisol made in a month. She flipped further. Her hand froze. There it was, a surgical report. Procedure, exploratory auditory canal intervention. Age at procedure, 10. Doctor, Dr. Reed Langford. Marisol frowned. Exploratory? That's incredibly risky for a child. She scanned the notes. No postoperative follow-ups. No healing progress. No neurological monitoring. Just, patient may experience temporary cognitive fatigue. Temporary? 2 years of cognitive decline wasn't temporary. Her pulse hammered. Then she found something worse. A printed email chain. The top line read, Ongoing protocol, Hart account. Family highly compliant. Recommend continuation of treatment plan for further study. Treatment plan? Further study? Her hands shook as she read the next message. Decline linked to procedure not fully explained to parent. Advise limited disclosure. Her vision blurred. They hid information from Oliver. They let Ava deteriorate. They concealed adverse reactions. And for what? Her stomach turned. Money. Research. Prestige. 12-year-old Ava had become a case study. Marisol snapped the binder shut. She needed to tell Oliver. She needed to. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Marisol's blood turned cold. She shoved the file back onto the shelf and slipped behind the door. Mrs. Langford, the head housekeeper, entered. She stopped beside the cabinet, sighing deeply. Poor child, she whispered under her breath. But we must follow protocol. Mr. Hart trusts the doctors. It's not our place to question them. Protocol. The word now sounded sinister. When she finally left, Marisol's knees felt weak. The truth was clearer now. Ava wasn't slow. Ava wasn't declining on her own. Ava was the victim of negligence. Or worse, intentional silence. And the buzzing, the swelling, the memory loss. None of it was normal. She needed to check one more thing. Behind the ear. Inside the scar. She needed to see whether something remained from that procedure. But she needed Ava's trust first. And the courage to face a man with enough power to ruin her life. That afternoon, the house fell into chaos again. A crash. A scream. Marisol sprinted through the hallways, heart pounding. She found Ava collapsed beside the grand piano, hands clamped tightly to her head. The buzzing was audible, now even from where Marisol stood, a faint vibration like an electric hum. Ava. Marisol knelt, lifting her gently. The girl's breathing was rapid. Her pupils unfocused. It hurts, Marisol. It hurts us so bad. Please, make it stop. Marisol's hands trembled. I've got you, she whispered. I'm here. Ava clung to her shirt, sobbing. Don't call the doctors, she begged. They said I'm imagining it. They always say I'm imagining it. Marisol pulled her close. No, sweetheart. I believe you. I always believe you. Ava shuddered. I think something is inside, she whispered. I hear it. I feel it. Like it's moving. Marisol froze. Inside. Moving? Her mouth went dry. She didn't know the science, but she knew pain. She knew medical mismanagement. She knew what protocol sounded like when people in power made decisions for the powerless. She lifted Ava carefully and walked her to her room. Lay down, she said softly. Ava obeyed, trembling. Marisol pulled out her phone, hesitated, then typed a message to herself. Possibility, retained implant, post-surgical reaction, device malfunction. Her mind raced. If something had been left behind, if something was malfunctioning, if something was pressing against bone, nerves, or tissue. Oh God. Ava's decline wasn't natural. It was man-made. Sweetheart, Marisol whispered, kneeling beside the bed. I want to check something. I won't hurt you. I promise. Ava nodded weakly. Marisol shifted the girl's hair aside and gently pressed near the scar. Ava jerked. Ow. I'm sorry, honey. I know it hurts. Marisol inhaled deeply and felt again, slowly, carefully. There. A tiny bump beneath the skin. Smooth. Firm. Foreign. Her chest tightened. Something was left there. Not a biological mass. Not swelling. Not infection. Something man-made. Her breath hitched. This was no developmental delay. This was a medical device, malfunctioning, reacting, maybe shifting. Ava winced again. Is it bad? She whispered. Marisol cupped her cheek. It's not your fault, she whispered. You're not slow. You're not broken. Something was done to you. A tear rolled down Ava's cheek. Will you help me? She whispered. Please? I don't trust anyone but you. The words nearly broke Marisol. She brushed the girl's hair gently. I promise, she murmured. I won't stop until you're better. And she meant it. She didn't care what it cost. If you believe every child deserves to be heard, really heard, and not dismissed, please subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Ava slept fitfully throughout the night, small whimpers escaping her lips, hands curled tightly near her head as if shielding herself from something no one could see. Marisol stayed beside her the whole time. Not because she was required to. Not because anyone ordered her. Because she couldn't leave. Each time Ava trembled, Marisol brushed her hair gently and whispered, I'm here. You're not alone. But as dawn broke slowly over the horizon, painting the sky in soft gold, a terrible resolve formed in Marisol's chest. She had to talk to Oliver. She wasn't a doctor. She wasn't someone with power. But she was the only one who actually saw Ava. And she had proof now. Proof buried in that medical folder. Proof in the swelling behind Ava's ear. Proof in her symptoms. A device left behind during an exploratory procedure. A malfunctioning foreign object causing neurological interference. A little girl deteriorating for 2 years because no one bothered to look beyond the money being poured into her case. But would a billionaire even believe her? A janitor? She exhaled shakily. Whether he believed her or not didn't matter. She had a voice, and she would use it. At 7:12 a.m. sharp, Oliver Hart returned home. He stepped out of his black car, suit crisp, expression carved from stone. He had been in meetings all night, negotiating a multi-billion-dollar merger for one of his tech companies. He was exhausted, drained, barely upright, but he always checked on Ava the moment he returned. Always. He walked briskly up the stairs, unaware that today would shatter him. He opened her bedroom door and froze. A janitor sat beside his sleeping daughter, holding her hand. Marisol shot to her feet, heart leaping into her throat. I'm sorry, Mr. Hart, she stammered. She had an episode last night. She needed. What are you doing in my daughter's room? Oliver's voice was sharp, cracking through the space like a whip. Ava stirred softly. Marisol stepped back instinctively. She collapsed yesterday, Marisol whispered. She was in pain. I didn't want her to be alone. You had no right, Oliver snapped. His eyes were red, tired, heavy, but also filled with fear. Not anger. Fear. Marisol swallowed hard. I need to talk to you, she said softly. Please. Oliver didn't move. His jaw clenched. I don't have time for this. If she had an episode, I'll notify her doctors. No, Marisol said quickly. You can't call them. Oliver stiffened. Excuse me. Please, she whispered. Just listen. He stared at her like she'd grown another head. I don't take medical advice from janitors, he said coldly. The words hit her chest like a blow. Marisol lowered her gaze for a moment, but then lifted it again, eyes burning with determination. You've taken advice from doctors for 2 years, she said, voice trembling but brave. And look where it brought her. Oliver froze. Something flickered in his eyes. Hurt, guilt, fear. Marisol swallowed and continued. She isn't slow. She isn't declining on her own. Something went wrong during a procedure they never told you the full truth about. Something is in her. Oliver went still, completely still. For a moment, the world felt suspended. Then he stepped closer, face hardening. What did you say? Marisol took a deep breath. Something is behind her ear, under the skin. It shouldn't be there. And it's hurting her. The buzzing, the memory loss, the headaches. They're all connected. Oliver shook his head, disbelief and rising panic battling on his face. That's impossible, he said quietly. Her doctors performed a simple exploration. They told me everything. No, Marisol whispered. They didn't. She lifted her chin. I saw the file. Oliver's face drained of color. You went through my daughter's medical records? Yes, she whispered. Because you needed to know the truth. A muscle in Oliver's jaw twitched. You had no right. She had no one else. Marisol burst out, her voice breaking. You weren't here last night when she begged for help. When she sobbed, because she could feel something moving inside her head. You didn't see how terrified she was. I did. Her voice trembled. I didn't go into that file because I wanted to. I went in because she is suffering, and no one is listening to her. Oliver's breath hitched. His gaze flicked to Ava, still curled under her blanket, small, fragile, unaware of the storm surrounding her. Slowly, painfully, he sank to the edge of the bed. He touched her hand gently. Her fingers curled unconsciously around his. His voice shook when he spoke. What did you find in the file? Marisol exhaled shakily. They hid the complications. They hid the aftereffects. They hid the fact that the procedure wasn't necessary. And they hid the scan that showed something was left behind. Oliver went rigid. What was left behind? Marisol whispered the words she'd been afraid to say aloud. A device. His head snapped toward her. A what? A small implant. Or a fragment of it. And it's causing neurological interference. Oliver's breathing quickened. His voice cracked. No. They would have told me. They said the surgery was minor. They said she just needed time. They said nothing went wrong. Marisol stepped closer. They lied. Before Oliver could respond, Ava whimpered. Then, faintly, through half-conscious lips, she spoke. It's buzzing again. Tell it to stop. Please stop. Oliver froze. He hadn't heard her talk about the buzzing since the early months. The doctors said it was psychological. Dishonest memory processing. Anxiety symptom. But this wasn't anxiety. This was pain. Real pain. He swallowed hard. Marisol, he whispered, what do we do? The billionaire, who commanded empires, controlled industries, and intimidated entire boardrooms, finally collapsed under the weight of a truth he'd been running from. He looked at her with eyes that weren't cold anymore. They were pleading, begging. I don't know how to help her, he whispered. Tell me what to do. Marisol's heart tightened. I think, she said carefully, we need to take her somewhere else. Someone who has nothing to gain from lying. Someone outside her current medical circle. Oliver nodded slowly. Yes, he said. Yes, I'll. But he stopped. Because he suddenly noticed something. A faint vibration. Coming from Ava's head. Her hair moved slightly with each buzz, like something underneath was shifting. He felt sick. What is happening to her? Oliver whispered. Marisol's voice shook. She's running out of time. Oliver stood abruptly. Not strong. Not composed. Breaking. I trusted them, he whispered. I trusted them with my daughter. And they treated her like an experiment. His voice collapsed. His knees weakened. He put his face in his hands. And for the first time since his wife died, Oliver Hart cried openly. Marisol looked away, giving him dignity in his vulnerability. But her heart ached. When he finally lifted his head, his face was a battlefield. Pain, guilt, fury. Who did this? He asked. We need to talk to the surgeon, Marisol said. Dr. Reed Langford. He performed the procedure. Oliver's eyes widened. Langford, he whispered. He oversees half of my company's medical research grants. He sank back down. This is bigger than I thought. A sudden buzz vibrated through Oliver's phone. An email alert. He pulled it out and frowned. The message was from an unknown address. Stop digging. You don't know what you're getting into. Oliver's pulse spiked. The timing was too precise. Too intentional. He looked at Marisol, face pale, trembling. Someone knows, she whispered. Someone knows you found out. Oliver clenched his jaw. Then they'll also know what happens when a heart fights back. He grabbed his coat. Pack a bag, he told Marisol. I need you with us. She blinked, startled. Me? You're the only person my daughter trusts. The only one who has seen the truth. And the only one who cares more about her than protocol. His voice steadied. I trust you. The words hit her harder than she expected. She nodded once. For Ava, she whispered. For Ava, he echoed. Oliver didn't wait. Within an hour, he had Ava bundled gently in a thick coat, asleep against his chest as he carried her down the staircase. Her head twitched every few seconds with faint vibrations, each one a knife twist to his heart. Marisol followed with a duffel bag, trying to steady her breathing. She'd never seen a billionaire move like this. Not efficiently, not decisively, but desperately. Every step Oliver took whispered the same truth. He feared he might lose her. As they reached the front doors, Mrs. Langford, stern, sharp-eyed, stepped forward. Mr. Hart, is everything? We're leaving, he said without slowing. Cancel all appointments. Notify no one. The housekeeper stiffened. But sir, Dr. Langford is scheduled to. Oliver stopped. Not gently. He turned, eyes cold and burning at the same time. We're done with Langford. He isn't to come near my daughter again. The woman paled. But he's been calling all morning. He said he needs to adjust. Adjust what? Oliver snapped. The device he left in her head? The device he hid from me. Mrs. Langford's lips parted. She wasn't shocked. She was caught. Marisol's stomach dropped. You knew. Oliver whispered, voice cracking. All this time you knew. The housekeeper lowered her eyes. It wasn't my place. It was your responsibility. Oliver roared. You knew my daughter was in pain. You knew she was declining. How could you stay silent? Tears shimmered in Mrs. Langford's eyes, but she said nothing. Oliver didn't waste another breath. He turned, walked out the door, and the guards opened the back seat of the car. Drive, he ordered. The mansion gates slammed behind them. Halfway to the private medical center Oliver trusted, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it. But a cold dread stopped him. He pressed answer. A distorted voice filled the car. Turn around. This isn't a problem you can fix. Oliver's fingers tightened. Who is this? Someone who can protect your daughter better than you can. The voice was calm, professional. Too calm. You're making a mistake involving outside physicians. Just take her back to Langford. He knows how to manage her condition. Oliver's pulse spiked. No, he hissed. I trusted him. And he lied. You're jeopardizing years of research. Research? Oliver growled. She's a child, not a study. The voice went cold. She's more valuable than you understand. That sentence froze Marisol's blood. Oliver's voice hardened. If you come near my daughter again, I will take everything you've ever built. This is your only warning. He hung up. The car fell into heavy silence. Ava stirred slightly in his arms. Marisol swallowed. They're scared, she whispered. That means we're getting close. Oliver nodded, jaw tight. Yes, he murmured. And I won't stop until I tear the truth out of them. They arrived at the medical center. Not a flashy skyscraper. Not a research hospital. A small, humble building run by Dr. Maya Rodriguez, a neurologist Oliver had trusted before fame and money swallowed his world. Dr. Rodriguez rushed into the exam room the moment she saw Ava. My God, she breathed. She looks terrible. How long has she been like this? 2 years, Oliver whispered. Dr. Rodriguez's face filled with heartbreak. Lay her down, she said urgently. Oliver placed Ava carefully onto the examination table. Dr. Rodriguez examined her with swift, practiced hands. Pupil tracking, ear canal, motor response. Every few seconds, her frown deepened. She gently lifted the hair behind Ava's right ear. When she saw the scar, her breath hitched. Who did this procedure? She asked quietly. Oliver swallowed. Langford. The doctor stepped back. Her face changed. Horror, disbelief, fury. No, she whispered. No, no, no. He didn't. He wouldn't. What did he do? Oliver demanded. Dr. Rodriguez exhaled shakily. This is not a standard exploratory procedure. Look here. Feel the ridge under the skin. She guided Oliver's trembling fingers. A small, hard bump. Foreign. Metallic. His chest constricted. What is that? He whispered. Dr. Rodriguez swallowed. A cranial monitoring implant, she said. But this design, this placement, it's experimental. Completely illegal for a minor. This would never be approved. Marisol gasped. Oliver nearly collapsed. He told me it was a harmless scan, he whispered. He said nothing invasive. Nothing permanent. Dr. Rodriguez's eyes filled with fury. He lied. This is a device used in neurological research trials. And if it malfunctions, which it clearly has, it can cause interference, memory disruption, cognitive decline, exactly what she's experiencing. Oliver's hands shook violently. He used my daughter. His voice cracked. As a test subject? Dr. Rodriguez didn't answer. She didn't have to. Oliver staggered back, gripping the counter for support. Marisol stepped forward, eyes full of tears. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I tried to keep her safe. No, Oliver said, voice breaking. You saved her. I failed her. He turned to Dr. Rodriguez. Can you remove it? She hesitated. That depends. On what? On whether it's still intact, she said. And whether tissue damage has begun. Oliver felt the world closing in. Do whatever it takes, he pleaded. Please. She's all I have. The next hour was agony. Ava lay unconscious on the table as Dr. Rodriguez worked carefully, guided by scans and imaging. Marisol and Oliver stood outside the glass window, hands pressed against the barrier. Oliver had never felt so powerless. Each beep, each pause, each movement of the doctor's hands chipped away at him. Finally, after what felt like eternity, Dr. Rodriguez stepped out. She held a small metallic object in tweezers. It was barely the size of a fingernail, with wires like broken veins. Oliver's blood turned to ice. That, Dr. Rodriguez said softly, was inside your daughter. Marisol covered her mouth. Oliver stared at the object, rage, grief, horror all bleeding together. What now? He whispered. Dr. Rodriguez smiled gently for the first time. Now, she said, she heals. 2 hours later, Ava stirred. Oliver rushed to her bedside. She blinked slowly, then looked up at him, eyes clearer than they'd been in years. Dad. Oliver collapsed into a chair, tears spilling. Yes, he whispered. Yes, baby, I'm here. Ava touched her head. It's quiet, she murmured. It's finally quiet. Marisol covered her mouth again, this time sobbing softly in relief. Ava looked around. She saw Marisol. Weak smile. You stayed, she whispered. Marisol knelt beside her. Always, she said through tears. I promised, didn't I? The little girl nodded. Thank you, she whispered. 2 words. They broke Oliver. They healed him. And they broke him. He rested his forehead against her hand and cried. Not the silent tears of a grieving man, but the loud, shaking sobs of a father who just got his child back. Ava squeezed his hand. It's okay, Daddy, she whispered. I remember you. The room fell silent. Trembling, Oliver looked up. You remember? Ava nodded slowly. Everything. 1 day later, Oliver stood in his boardroom with Dr. Langford sitting across from him, arms crossed confidently. You cannot possibly believe the janitor's claims, Langford scoffed. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds? Oliver placed the metallic implant on the table. Langford's face drained of color. You did this to my daughter, Oliver said softly. Too softly. You stole 2 years of her life. You lied to me. You used her. It wasn't personal, Langford whispered. Her case was important, groundbreaking. It could change the future of neurology. Not at the expense of my child, Oliver snapped. Security stepped in behind him. Langford paled. You'll never prove it, he hissed. No one will believe. I have the files, Oliver said. I have the device. And I have the doctor who removed it. Langford lunged forward. That janitor ruined everything. Oliver stepped closer. No, he said. She saved everything. Langford was escorted out in handcuffs, kicking and screaming. 3 weeks later, Ava ran through the Hart garden, laughing. Sunlight danced through her curls as she ran toward Marisol. Look, she exclaimed, holding a flower. It smells like sunshine. Marisol knelt, smiling. You look like sunshine, sweetheart. Oliver watched them from the terrace. Alive, restored, present. He walked toward them, kneeling beside his daughter. How's the head? No buzzing, she said proudly. No forgetting. Oliver kissed her forehead. Then he turned to Marisol, his voice soft. I can never repay you. You don't have to, she whispered. But Oliver shook his head. I'm hiring you, he said. Not as staff. As family support. Someone I trust with my daughter's life. Someone she loves. Ava nodded eagerly. Yes. Marisol stays. Marisol's eyes filled with tears. She whispered. Thank you. Oliver smiled softly. No, he said. Thank you. You gave me back my daughter. They stood there, sun warming their skin, the worst behind them, the future finally bright. And for the first time in a long time, Ava Hart's world wasn't buzzing. It was beautiful,